Hey everyone, it's Zara. I'm back today with another video. It's something I get a lot of comments on this account, and surprisingly, a lot of them are like a lot of repeat comments. Sorry, my microphone is down here, so I'm gonna try to speak loudly, but I really don't know like what's going on with volume. So hopefully it works out great. If not, hey, whatever. But I do get a lot of comments on this channel, and because of my own personal spiritual journey and the friends that I have, I think I think it causes people to have this view that I don't have strong opinions about certain controversial topics, or that I don't look at things thoroughly. But that's not true. And I just wanted to do this video and talk about some of the things that I notice get brought up a lot. One thing that I'm not going to address in this video, and I probably will not ever like do a video or anything about it. I don't know, but I don't think I will. Is yoga. So that's one of the controversial things that I'm just not interested in really getting into. What it is, what it isn't, is it okay, is it not, why do I feel that way, etc. I think that's something that, boy, like that's just it's very loaded. But as you know from the title of the video, I will be talking about herbalism. I recently said online that I was taking a herbalism course. So for some of you who know, I am someone who's certified in holistic remedies. It's just something that, having a daughter with food allergies, it's something I got into, something I'm interested in, and something that I do think the Most High wants all of his children to study and be aware of the amazing, miraculous things that he's created. So I am doing a herbalism course. Some people, actually a lot of people in both the Christian, the Messianic Hebrew world, feel that things such as herbalism or crystals, meditation, that sort of thing, are all bad, all wrong. Stay away from it because of the occult and Satanism and paganism and neo-paganism and things that are outside of our worldview, our faith system, have taken those things that the Most High has created, and they've used them for things such as divination and sorcery, which are completely impermissible in Scripture. They are complete abominations to the Most High. So while I understand that view, I want to present my view along with Scripture to try to maybe expand the way we think and talk about these things. I'm prefacing all of this by saying I think it's important that we never allow fallen human beings to take something that the Most High gave to us for good, and because New Age and occultism and all of these other things are taking these things and using it for witchcraft and using it for the power that it does have, but in ways that the Most High said not to, I don't think that we should allow that to cut us off from our blessing, our blessing in the rest of his creation from the Most High. So what he's given us, we should use the way he said use it for our benefit, and not allow whatever other people are doing with those things to really detract from what we're doing. Now, I totally understand the verse that people always bring up that, we should avoid any appearance of evil. However, if an appearance of evil is wearing a headscarf, and the Most High obviously talks about wearing a headscarf in a positive way, that's not taking the appearance of evil. If the Most High says, eat fruits and vegetables and plants, and just because other people make that their religion or whatever, and that seems evil to so many people, that you should eat all the meat in the world because God said that you can eat meat, just because that some people are taking it and making it something that it's not, doesn't mean that we should avoid it. And if we don't, then we're giving the appearance of evil. So all of what I'm going to say is coming from that place. I did take notes because, as you guys know, I am incredibly long-winded, and I hope to keep this video under 20 minutes. So without further ado, I want to start with meditation. So when I say meditation, I mean like the art of quieting oneself, like your own. Some of you are not built like this. I am built like this. I am an INFJ on the Myers-Briggs personality test. So I am very much always up here. Like my mind right now, I'm talking to you guys, but I'm thinking about like 10 different things, honestly. And that's just how it is. When I sleep, I'm still thinking. I wake up and I'm like, wow, I completed my thoughts last night while I was sleeping. My brain does not stop unless I am in prayer and I'm disciplined myself to like try to turn it off, or at least quiet it. So the art of quieting your own thoughts, your mind, focusing on, in my opinion, meditation designed should be focusing on the words that we have from the Most High, and then controlling your breath. As we know, breath is important, obviously, and you can turn your fight or flight response on in your body by just breathing heavily. You can turn that response on in your brain, or you can control your breath, control how you're breathing, and you can control your brain chemicals and kind of what's going on and what your neurotransmitters are sending to the rest of your body, i.e. turning off that fight or flight response that does make most people feel anxious. So that's what I'm talking about. I am not talking about meditation from some of this new age stuff that's out. And some of it is ancient practices from different cultures and faith systems. The practice of like emptying your mind and almost striving for this type of like nirvana or, whatever. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about stripping it down, the basics of like what meditation is. So in that, I want to bring scripture into this. There's a few scriptures. I will try to leave them below, but I need a bookmark. Okay. I'll use one of these handy dandy tags for my bookmark. So let's take it to, let's see, I have written down Joshua 1:8. Did I do this from the same Bible? Yeah. Joshua 1:8. The book of this law shall not depart from your mouth, and you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may have the understanding to do all the things written therein. Then you will both prosper, make your ways prosperous, and have understanding. So right there in Joshua 1, there's also other scriptures that predate Joshua 1, but I felt like we all know Joshua 1:9. Behold, I have commanded you, be strong and courageous, right? We all know that verse, but I've always wondered why people have kind of read over verse 8, which the Most High is like, hey, the book of this law, like, don't let this depart from your mouth. You want to meditate, you want to focus on something, focus on the book of this law. Focus on my word to you. Meditate on it day and night, that you may have understanding. So that there's actually a spiritual benefit in meditation. Again, I'm talking about biblical meditation. We're defining biblical meditation. Let's go to... I'm going to leave all these scriptures below, but let's go to Psalm 1:2. I wrote like 6 texts down, and so I'm trying to decide which ones to bring out. But Psalm 1:2. But his will is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. Again, this idea of day and night. So we know that at the very least, maybe we're not commanded, but at the very least, we should be trying to meditate daily, day and night. So morning and night, during the day at some point, and then before we go to bed. Let's go to Genesis 24, verse 63. Again, I'm reading from an orthodox canon, so sometimes some of the books have less chapters or more chapters or, whatever, so you may have different numbers associated, but y'all can look it up and figure that out. Okay, Genesis 24, verse 63. Isaac then went out to meditate in the field in the evening, and he lifted his eyes and saw camels coming. So it's like that's something in this whole story of like Isaac and Rebecca. It's really easy to read over that. But as I was looking for specific examples of people in the Bible, our matriarchs, our patriarchs who meditated, Isaac didn't just like meditate, like he went out. He specifically, obviously set aside time in his mind. He said, I'm going to go meditate. So he went out somewhere. He planned this. He went out. So he was outside to meditate. So if you see someone sitting calmly outside, silently meditating in a field close to the evening, maybe in front of a sunset, don't assume that they're just like worshiping the sun because that's what you've seen, like new age kind of like spirit guides and like stuff like that do. Don't just assume that because that's your experience. Like let your judgment be based in not just a shallow reading of scripture, but like a deep reading of scripture, so that if I go outside and I see someone sitting there quietly, maybe they're crisscross applesauce, whatever, and it just looks like Buddhism or whatever, you think it looks like, don't be so quick to be like, that's not Christian, or that's not biblical, that be careful, that's pagan or whatever. Because scripture is clear and it tells us in passing sometimes what's okay and what's not. So that's my spiel on meditation. Again, I don't ever think that we are told or called or we see this type of like emptying the mind, but it's perfectly fine to sit in focus, in silence, listening, and in thought, in true contemplative thought over truth. There's nothing wrong with it. Outside, in the evening, in the field, it's totally fine. There's also Job 15:4 that talks about meditation before God. There's Titus 1:15, so on and so forth. There's so many scriptures. I will try to leave that below. Another thing that has been brought up is I've mentioned in passing, I think, that I pray the hours. So some people don't know what that means. So in Jewish tradition, it's in scripture, we're going to get to that, but set hours of prayer became a cultural norm. It just became a part of the people, the custom, the faith. It was what it was. To my knowledge, the Most High never commanded it. However, I don't believe that every single thing that the Most High ever commanded is in the Bible. I think that there is a great deal of spiritual knowledge that our forefathers had that maybe either they didn't write down or it just got like burnt up somewhere or whatever. I think we have what we need, but I don't think we have everything. And I think scripture teaches us that when I think John writes and says, if everything were to be written about what Jesus said and did and taught, and there enough books in the world couldn't contain it. So I take that very literally and I say, so much happened and we get what we need, but we don't get everything. So in that, I want to address the fact that praying set prayer hours was a Jewish custom. It is a Jewish custom. Some of you guys have seen my Ohel Serah Jewish Siddur. And then I also have, right in front of me here, can y'all see that? An Orthodox prayer book, which you guys probably can't see that, but yeah, talking about praying the hour. So there's like the first hour, the second hour, the third hour, so on, the 6th hour, the 9th hour, stuff like that, so on and so forth. And some people, because they've only ever seen that, again, like their personal experience, they've only ever seen that in Islam. They think, and within Orthodoxy and within Jewish custom, women cover their heads when they pray. That's the custom. And I think we've gone over scripture enough to know that you guys know where that's at in scripture. So because a lot of people have only ever seen that within Islam, they think, oh, you're trying to be Muslim, or you're giving the appearance of evil, you're copying them, or whatever. And that's just ignorance. That's a lack, and I don't mean that like snarky, it's just a lack of knowledge, honestly, because it predates Islam. It predates Christianity. It's a Jewish custom with respect to, the Abrahamic religions. So I wanted to address that though with scripture. Let's go to 1 Kings 8:48, because one of the issues is what direction. Now I will forever and always pray facing east, and to pray facing Jerusalem. I think it's biblical, and it's just my custom. It's what I know. Muslims pray facing east, but they pray facing Mecca. So 1 Kings 8:48, which I need to get a Protestant scripture text. Okay, let me get my other Bible out. This is what happens when you do your studies with a bunch of different Bibles. You have to like figure out, now, was I using the Orthodox one or the Catholic one or the Protestant one? Okay, 1 Kings 8:48. I'm going to be reading from the Scriptures translation because it was the closest thing next to me. And they shall turn back to you with all their heart and with all their being in the land of their enemies who led them away captive, and shall pray to you toward their land which you gave to their fathers, the city which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name. So I encourage everyone to read the rest of that chapter, but right there we see this idea of praying facing Jerusalem, facing east. We can go to Daniel 6, verse 10. Daniel 6, verse 10. It says, "And Daniel, when he knew that the writing was signed, went home, and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his Elah, God, as he had done before." So we know that this was Daniel's custom to pray 3 times a day with his windows open, facing east, facing Jerusalem, down on his knees and praying. Like, that's all the detail we get right there. Now, if that looks like Islamic prayer, then you know what? Like, perhaps they're doing just, like the basic right, Like, you don't have to take the whole thing and be like, all the words are right, or the reason for praying is right, or whatever, but you at least can't criticize how they're doing it. Knees on the floor, facing east, praying, So that's not giving an appearance of evil just because that's something that they do. It's truly something that we see in scripture and that we are free to also participate in, and it's something that was the custom. Orthodox will also pray with prostration, facing east, more than 3 times a day. So let's go to, and there's Psalm 5:7. Again, I'll leave these verses below. Acts, so we can bring it like New Testament if we want. Let's go to Acts 2:15, and let's look at prayer there, because I don't want people to just think like, oh, that's the Old Testament, because people say that a lot. So Acts 2:15. What am I doing? I need to get this other Bible. I wrote this down Protestant-wise. Acts 2:15. It says, "For these men are not drunk, as you imagine, since it is only the third hour of the day." So right there we see that it's mentioning what time it is by like the first hour, the third hour, the fifth hour. But we're gonna build on that. So Acts 3, it says, "And Kepha," so that's Peter, "and Yochanan," that's John, "were going up to the set apart place at the hour of prayer, the 9th hour." So again, in case you were skeptical about what I was saying earlier with these hours of prayer, Scripture just makes it very clear for us. And then again, I will say, I'll leave a link below talking about orthodox prayer hours and just to kind of expound on all of that so that no one really has to ask. It's just right there in the description box. Moving on to what I think is something that's really controversial, crystals. And this video is not going to be under 20 minutes. You probably know that by now, considering if you're still watching, I'm not editing anything. We are at about 22 minutes. But crystals. So this is going to be, why did I not write the scripture reference down? But I'm pretty sure it's Exodus 28. So let's go to Exodus 28. I'm pretty sure that's the right, that's the right reference, but let me double check it before I bring it out. So we're talking about stones and crystals, guys. Okay, so we're going to talk about the priestly garments, which just be open, because if you've never read this stuff before, then it's going to feel kind of crazy to you. What I am not condoning here saying is again, witchcraft, divination, sorcery. All of that is human beings, fallen human beings, realizing stuff has energy, vibration, and power, and then taking it and using it contrary to the Most High. So that is why he forbids it. He's not saying this stuff doesn't exist or it doesn't have power. He's actually saying it does have power, and you need to stay away from that type of dark stuff. Just because it works doesn't mean you should do it. Okay, so I want to bring that out. But Exodus 28 verses 20. No, let's go. So Exodus 28, just start at the beginning. I'm not going to read all of this. Yeah, you guys, if you've never read that, just stop and read it. Gosh. But so in scripture, I'm not going to read all that because it's so much. We see crystals, or we see stones, whatever you want to call them. We see sardius, topaz, emerald is supposed to be on the first row of the priestly garment, the vestment. We see carbuncle, sapphire, and jasper being on the third row. We see jacinth, agate, I don't know how to say that, amethyst on the third row. Then we see chrysolite, beryl, and then we see onyx to be placed on the fourth row. And they're to be placed in gold. Then we see the urim and the thummim, which is like black and white crystals, to also be included. So you can look at that and be like, oh, God just made really pretty rocks and he wanted them to be really cute on the priest's garments. Like, it's cute. And like, if you keep reading in scripture, you can see that God did some pretty powerful things through that vestment on the priest. You could honestly stop there and just like shallow reading of scripture, be aware that it's there, and be like, I'm not going to speculate as to why God said to put topaz and emerald and onyx. Maybe he just thought it was pretty and lavish and signs of wealth. I'm okay if you want to stop there. However, many of us believe that everything that the Most High has created, and this goes along with science, everything has energy, and like a vibration. And from that, literally from that, you either get like particles or waves. And then from that, you get like matter. So like actual like objects, right? But at the most fundamental level, everything has energy, everything has vibration. So some of us will take that and say, what properties? Like God just didn't make stuff so it's cute. Like I don't believe that. I don't think God made trees just because they're beautiful. I think that they interact with humans a certain way. Obviously, the exchange of oxygen and carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, whichever one. I'm not a science person, as you can hear. But there's an exchange there, right? So I don't think that God just makes things because they're cute. I think everything has properties, and everything that God has created in creation, in nature, for the most part, has healing properties for either humans and or animals, or protective things where he's like, don't eat that, but that takes care of some other issues over there, right? Like pigs, for example. They clean the earth, but he's like, yo, don't eat it. It's not going to heal your body, but they clean the earth. So like they can like live. That's why I created them. So I take that, and it's the same thing with crystals, especially when I see that these stones or crystals, whatever, are being used by the person who's like supposed to be like the most holy and pure and not like have any sort of like witchcraft or divination or none of that stuff on him. Like I have to say this is a good thing, and then I want to look at the scientific properties of these stones or these crystals. Now, some people are like, oh, onyx has the properties that bring out healing or bring out bravery and courage and all of that. Maybe that's true. I don't really know. I personally don't feel it's necessary to kind of place a whole lot of weight in that. It's kind of like, hey, if black onyx for some reason interacts with my charges, my ions a certain way, then like, great, that's awesome. If a Himalayan salt lamp is going to interact with particles in a certain way and clear the air of negative charges, like, yo, whatever, that's cool. I'm all down for it. But I'm not placing my hope in that. I'm still going to sit there and pray and ask the Most High himself to, deal with whatever. If I need energy, Most High, you got all the energy in the multiverse. You are energy. Give me some of yours. I'm still going to pray that. But I also might drink some coffee. You feel me? So if someone feels that, they might use some essential oil or something like that to boost their energy, power to them. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, and I don't think it's witchcraft, divination, or sorcery. Especially, so my thing is, at the very least, I don't feel like believers can have some case that like you shouldn't own crystals in your house. If nothing else, they're very pretty. Excuse me, I'm talking too much, obviously. But yeah, if nothing else, they're extremely beautiful, and they're nice to have around. And you can teach your kids how God creates really beautiful things. Like, I don't see what's so bad about it. And I think we just like to be reactionary as opposed to biblical often. So if you're one of those people that's like crystals are pagan, it's all witchcraft, then like at the very least you have to sit down with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. With these 14 stones / crystals, you have to sit down and hush. Okay, like you just gotta hush. But if there's other crystals that are not mentioned in this list, I suppose you could sit there and have a field day and talk about how evil it is if you want to. But for the 14 that are mentioned in scripture, in my opinion, you definitely have to just bring it down a few levels. And so I found this really great passage. This is the last thing I'm going to say, because I really didn't want this to be all like too much, but it's on the subject of herbalism. And for some reason, I really did not think this was a thing, because people drink tea all the time, and tea is herbalism. But whatever. I take like herbal tea baths. Women, if you don't know about that, please look it up. Instead of using a lot of these like some women douche, and like some women use all sorts of stuff in the bath, bubble bath and bath bombs. That stuff can really mess you up down there. So if you just want like detoxing and like replenishment and whatever, look into, excuse me, look into herbal tea baths. They're really awesome, I think. And they're natural. There's no like toxic anything, and it's not going to mess up your pH, all of that good stuff. But there are some people who genuinely feel that herbalism, using tinctures and stuff like that, is witchcraft. Literally just because it looks like what witches do when they're performing their witchcraft, which they are using herbs and, the properties of herbalism to harness power and energy to do some bad things. That's them. However, listen to what the Most High has to say about, I'm just going to read it. So we're going to go to, again, I'm reading from Orthodox Canon. You can get your hands on an Orthodox study Bible, or you guys can just use it like on your phone. There's a Catholic Bible that's close enough to the Orthodox Canon. It's got, it's got more books than a Protestant one, but you'll find Wisdom of Sirach. It's also named Ecclesiasticus. So that's the same thing. Wisdom of Sirach and Ecclesiasticus are the same thing. So Wisdom of Sirach / Ecclesiasticus, chapter 38. I want to read it. And I want to read the whole thing because I think people, American Messianic Judaism, American Hebrew Israelitism, American Protestantism, evangelicalism, it's all built on a Protestant Bible. Protestant Bibles leave out this book, as well as like things like the Book of Enoch and a lot of other really helpful, beneficial things that have always been considered a part of a traditional canon of Scripture, a readable document, and a document that's good for you to read. So I want to read this because I think a lot of people just have never even known about these books, and we're missing a lot of knowledge. So without further ado, Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 38. It says, "Honor the physician with the honor due him, and also according to your need of him, for the Lord created him. Healing comes from the Most High, and he will receive a gift from the King. The physician's skill will lift up his head, and he shall be admired in the presence of the great. The Lord created medicines from the earth, and a sensible man will not loathe them." I'm going to read that one just one more time. Verse 4. "The Lord created medicines from the earth, and a sensible man will not loathe them. It is not water made sweet by wood, that its strength might be known. And he gave skill to men, that he might be glorified in his wonders. By them he heals and takes away pain, a druggist making a compound of them. God's works are never finished, and from him health is upon the face of the earth. My son, do not be negligent when you are sick, but pray to the Lord, and he will heal you. Depart from transgression, and direct your hands aright, and cleanse your heart from every sin. Offer a sweet-smelling sacrifice, and a memorial of the finest wheat flour, and pour oil on your offering, as if you are soon to die. And keep in touch with your physician, for the Lord created him, and do not let him leave you, for you need him. There is a time when success is also in their hands, for they will pray to the Lord to give them success in bringing relief and healing. For the sake of preserving your life, he who sins before the one who made him, may he fall into the hands of a physician." I think that's self-explanatory, so I'm really not going to say anything else on that. But hopefully this video served as a tool for anyone thinking through things like essential oils, herbalism, crystals, salt lamps, salt caves. What else is there? To an extent, the use of various like hemp plants and like cannabis plants. I'm not talking about smoking it, but even if you want to include that, thinking through those sorts of things, I just think it's important that we are mindful of and knowledgeable about what Scripture says, so that we don't have to just react to what people are doing and give them so much power to deny us of something that our Creator says is good for us. I made this to help you. I don't think that we should be giving so much power to someone else to deny us our privilege and our blessing as children of the Most High. So hopefully this video was helpful. I'd love to hear thoughts and opinions, of course. Please keep it respectful to everyone that you speak to in my comments. I really don't want my channel to be a place where any root of bitterness is planted, like, and taken up and held onto. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful week. It's Monday that I'm recording this. I'm tired. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a wonderful week. Be sure to like this video if you like it. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified when I upload content like this. And until next time, Imir to Hashem, God allowing. Bye, guys.